amazing that the launch station that once helped put man on the moon actually only has a fraction of the computing power of what I'm holding in my hand right now. Because I'm not going to pretend like I think all of you are completely oblivious as to how fast computers are developing, but have you ever thought of the underlying principles that helps this? Because most man-made technologies are developing at a linear rate, which means that they only add the extra value that they did the time before they developed. While transistor technology that powers all of our computers is actually developing at an exponential rate, which means that over a specific time, it doubles in power. This was first discovered by the co-founder of Intel, Gordon E. Moore, when he realized that the amount of transistors he could fit on a microprocessor was actually doubling every 2 years or so. Of course, this has had immense impact on the computing power of everything we use, but it has also had a tremendous impact on our culture. But why? Why has it impacted our culture so much when it's only about computers? Well, because it's actually not only about computers, because most technologies can actually be translated into ones and zeros. One example I will bring up about this is something that I think everybody can relate to and have seen transform from being something that is strictly linear to something exponential. And that is the camera. Going from being something that is analog on a film roll to being something made up of just ones and zeros. I think everyone in this room has seen this transformation. So to explain this, I will also tell you about the steps that it goes through. And it's formulated by a guy called Peter H. Diamandis, one of the smartest entrepreneurs in the world. He's the co-founder of Singularity University, and I will get back to that. But he calls these steps the 6 Ds. The reason why he calls it that is because there are 6 steps that all start with the letter D, so they are easy to memorize. And they formulate the transformation that technology has to go through from being linear to exponential. So the first step that the camera went through to becoming an exponential technology is it became digitalized. It went from being, as I said, the film roll to being just ones and zeros. Because it takes power from the transistor technology and that exponential growth of that. So for a start of an exponential technology, it starts out being a little bit deceptive. Like the first digital camera, it was just 0.1 megapixels. But then it became 0.2, 0.4, and then 0.8. To anyone who wasn't really paying attention closely, it all just looked like 0 megapixels. But then, when it finally hits that knee of the exponential curve, that is when it finally becomes disruptive. It disrupted all of existing camera technology and the analog technology because the digital camera was simply good enough. You didn't need to have the photo papers or the film rolls anymore. You could just snap a picture and it was stored in ones and zeros on a drive. And when it started disrupting the camera industry, it started to dematerialize. No one needed to manufacture those photo papers, film rolls, or the chemicals needed to develop it. And an interesting thing with dematerialization is that when no material is needed anymore, that is when it essentially becomes free. And that is one of the last and most important steps of becoming an exponential technology. You become demonetized. I don't know if you remember, but when you had to bring the film rolls to a lab to have it developed to see your photos, it was quite a costly affair. And then when you got them back and realized that half of the pictures were shit, you were just shit out of luck. Now you can just snap away as many photos as you want and look at them straight away and discard them if you don't like them. And being free, that's when you can become available to everyone. It becomes democratized. No longer is it only the professional photographers that can use and look at their pictures, or the people that have access to a lab. I think everyone in this room has a digital camera in their phone right now. So that is the last step and the power of exponential. So what happened to the digital camera was that first it became digitalized. It deceived for a short while, then it disrupted, it dematerialized, demonetized, and then became democratized. And this happened over about 10 years. But why? Why does this interest me? And why am I telling you? Because I want all of you to think of the things in your life that can become dematerialized at any time. Do you have any suggestions? Anyone?
Kitchen.
Kitchen, dematerialized. I have a couple of suggestions myself, actually, of things I reflect on. Like all of our physical interfaces. Like signs, road signs, the paint on the ground that shows us where we can drive our cars, where we can park our cars. That can all be dematerialized with the power of augmented reality. And that is actually an existing technology that's available to consumers right now with the Microsoft HoloLens. But you know, another thing, what if our actual world can become dematerialized? Because when virtual reality is so perfect that we can't distinguish virtual world from the real world, will the real world be obsolete to us? What do you think?
Yes. Yes.
Virtual world is much more convenient, right? But what if the next thing to dematerialize is the human mind? Because computing power is so perfect that it can actually comprehend and absorb all of human knowledge in just a couple of seconds. When we can translate human intuition, human reasoning, and feelings to a computer, that is when we start to talk about deep artificial intelligence. And I also mentioned earlier, Singularity University, they put all their efforts towards finding this entity that's as smart as a human, but not an actual human. And they firmly believe that we will find this entity in the shape of an artificial intelligence that we have created ourselves. Now, there's one more thing I feel I have to bring up, and that is that the transistor technology is actually slowing down. Because when it was first discovered that it was developing exponentially, it was growing and doubling in size every 18 months or so, while now it takes 2.5 years. So we need to look to the future and see what is the next technology that we can use to power the advent of technology that we want. And in comes the quantum computer. We have never seen anything like the quantum computer before. It's completely deviant from how transistor technology works. And it's intricate, it's really nerdy, I've gotten deep into it, but I don't have the time to explain it right now. So I think that's going to be my next topic for the next Hype Round 2020. Thank you so much for listening to me.